Well, look, we have a number of different obligations, but I just wanted to correct one thing that Tom had said there about the refugees who are coming from France. Because in fact, what we know from refugee organizations like Safe Passage, who deal with unaccompanied children, we know that 70% of the unaccompanied children who are in the Calais camps are from Afghanistan. So this is not a,
but the vast majority of those coming from France are men, young men.
I didn't interrupt you, Tom. I'm talking about those unaccompanied minors who are in the camps in Calais. We know that 70% of them are from Afghanistan. But look, you ask about the obligation that we have. The situation in Afghanistan is terrible. And we have an obligation to those, it's a debt of honor to those who have aided us over the past years, who now face persecution, perhaps torture and death, as a result of their help that they have given to British forces, that they've given to British NGOs in Afghanistan. That is a debt of honor. And that is why the relocation scheme that the government is talking about must be expanded very quickly, I think, to make sure that those people can come here safely and, of course, bring their immediate family with them, because they also will be at risk. There's then the separate obligation that we have, which is as a player on the world stage. All countries have an obligation to refugees, people who are fleeing for their lives with a well-founded fear of persecution. And if you look at what Canada has done, Canada has set up a resettlement scheme and has said that they will take 20,000 refugees over the next couple of years. I think that's the order of magnitude that the UK ought to be looking at. We have a far greater historical commitment, obviously, to Afghanistan than Canada does. And I think that the government needs to set that sort of quota and say, this is what we will do, and then to make sure that they do it quickly and efficiently. So yes, we must make sure that the family routes, the routes for family reunion are secure. And that's what, of course, many of the children who are in the camps in Calais are trying to do. They're trying to come back and be reunited with family members in the UK.
Okay, Tom Hunt, respond to that, Tom.
I mean, let's be honest. The moment Barry started talking about those coming over from France, which of course France we know is a safe European country, it refers to them as refugees. How can we know with confidence, with any kind of certainty, that every single person trying to get across illegally from France to the UK is a refugee? Many of them will be economic migrants, overwhelmingly young men. I mean, what we need here is a clear process in place, a resettlement program as the government is intending. And of course, we need to, if people are from Afghanistan, they're fleeing persecution, then, they'll engage to that process and they'll be processed and they'll be able to move to the United Kingdom.
But Tom, does it need to be, as Barry outlined, Canada have committed 20,000 people. It's very clear the direction of travel from the Canadians. Do we want that kind of clarity from our own Prime Minister?
I think at a time where many of the British public are seeing hundreds of people every day illegally trying to come across and often successfully staying in the UK, I think many of my constituents who are compassionate, decent people would have concerns about that continuing plus 20,000 on top of that. There is a limit. Of course there is. If you look at my local authority, there's a huge council housing waiting list. You've got thousands of people looking on low income, looking to get access to a council house. So clearly we've got to balance our desire to want to show compassion towards as many people as possible with practically what we can manage as a small island.
Sorry, if I may respond. I think the important thing to think about is what our obligations, our international obligations are. And of course, where I agree with what Tom is saying is that we need to establish safe and legal routes so that we don't have the criminals exploiting people coming over here in small boats from Calais. But of course, the government over the past few years has closed down those safe and legal routes. Precisely what they've done, take the DUB scheme. The DUB scheme was supposed to take 4,000 1,000 children and bring them to rejoin family members here in the UK. The government closed down that scheme, having taken about 400. So yes, let's expand those safe and legal routes, make sure that these people are genuine refugees, as Tom's saying. But we need to expand those routes. Otherwise, what we're doing by clamping down on those legal routes, like the Dove scheme, is we're actually pushing people into the arms of those who would exploit them, the criminals, the human traffickers, and the drug dealers.
I think we should be very honest here about, when it comes to the Labour Party, what many of the voices we're hearing are saying, which is, on the one hand, the Labour Party are all lined up to vote against the Nationality and Borders Bill, which hopefully will give our government the tools to deal with illegal immigration. Yet at the same time, they want us to commit to an almost endless number of refugees coming over from other parts of the world. So I think we've got to have...
There's no point in slinging money.
Barry, you had a big pop at me because you said I interrupted you.
All right, we'll come back to a response, Barry, in just a second. Do just continue that sentence, Tom.
So the Labour Party simultaneously try and sabotage and block the attempts of the government to try and deal with what we've been seeing, the channel crossings. Yet at the same time, they want us to commit to an almost endless obligation to taking refugees from the world. Vast majority of people in this country are compassionate and they want to extend their hand of friendship to those things.
Is there, Barry Gardiner, is there a contradiction in your position or your party's position?
No, look, I think if we reduce this debate to slanging and party politics, then we're not going to get anywhere. I think both Tom and I would accept that the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding in Afghanistan is one that needs a concerted response from all the powers around the world, not just the UK, not just Canada, the US, but all the major players. We all must do our fair share to take the refugees, those people who are in genuine fear of their lives. We must take our fair share. At the moment, the UK takes 0.2% of the world's refugees. It's a fraction of what places like Germany take, and it's minuscule in comparison with what is happening in Pakistan and the neighboring countries to Afghanistan. So what we need to do is we need to reach a global agreement. That's why I've said we should set quotas for resettlement over the next 2 years. I think the order of magnitude that Canada is looking at is about right for us, but that's for the government to determine. But in addition to that, what we must do is make sure that the relocation program for all of those interpreters, journalists, medics, NGO volunteers, the people who've been there helping us in Afghanistan for 20 years are not put at risk. That is a debt of honor, and we must honor it.
Tom Hunt, there was a lot in there from Barry. What do you say to that? It sounded rather reasonable to many people texting into us.
I'm not going to take any lessons from the German approach to these sorts of issues. I mean, we saw what happened when Angela Merkel essentially said, everyone come to Germany. We saw the chaos that came about as a result of that approach, and that was not based on cooperation, that particular approach that they adopted. But I would like to ask Barry, does Barry see a difference between these individuals who are fleeing directly from these areas where people are at risk of persecution, in this case, Afghanistan, and those people who are over in France, which is another safe European country, looking to get across here illegally? And can possibly just for a moment, Barry, consider that some of those who are in France trying to get over illegally at the moment are actually not genuine refugees?
Look, Tom, of course, there will be people who have not got a well-founded fear of persecution and therefore who are not refugees. They will be economic migrants. There will be migrants for other reasons. People travel across the world. My point is this. The government has closed down the safe and legal routes. In doing so, it has driven those people who are genuine refugees into the hands of the criminals. That's why I say, along with most of the refugee organizations, that we should be expanding those safe and legal routes to make sure that the people who do come here are the ones who genuinely are refugees and who have families in this country with whom they should properly be reunited.
Tom, final word from you.
How can you be a genuine refugee if you were in France?